Babes in Spyland. The Truth Hurts. Episode 8. The murmur of voices led Agent Smith back into the land of consciousness. She tried to focus on the sound, but it all globbed together, like being at an amusement park. So she figured the next best course of action would be to open her eyes. It hurt, but she did it. A bright light greeted her, and for a second she wondered if this was the end, going into the light and all that. But then the brightness faded and normalized into a hospital room. She couldn't see much from swiveling her eyes, just a tiled ceiling, a few monitors, and a fluorescent fixture overhead. So she tried lifting her head off the pillow. Ugh, she moaned, as the blood pumping through her skull threatened to burst it like a melon. Hold on, I think she's awake, a man said. Continuing with the moan, because it seemed the prudent thing to do, and it made her feel a little better, she turned her head and found her rescuer standing near the door. One of his arms rested in a sling, a small butterfly bandage adorned a spot over his right eye, and his other hand held a phone to his ear. When their gazes met, he smiled. Looks like she might make it. Agent Smith lowered her head back to the pillow. She quickly realized she should have done that slower. She stifled a groan and closed her eyes, gritting her teeth against the wave of nausea that threatened to engulf her. Yeah, I'll tell her. Just be nice to Agent Milkshakes, will you? A pause. You know she makes the best treats. If you make her mad, we'll probably get Rex-Lax in the next batch of brownies she brings. Curiosity overwhelmed the urge to vomit, and Agent Smith opened her eyes again. She found the man shaking his head, listening to his phone. Fine. You upset her, and I will turn you over to that cult of hairdressers that we busted last month. What did they say about you? Ooh, baby, he's gorgeous. A muffled cry of protest came through the phone. The man grinned. Just try to be a gentleman, Black Turtle. See what happens. You and Milkshakes report to Mud and get back here. He listened for a moment, rolled his eyes, and then hung up. That guy. His gaze fell on Agent Smith, and his grin widened into a smile. Hey. Hey, she said. The pheromones, it seemed, were not the only reason for her thinking this guy was hot earlier. He stood relaxed and filled out his button-down shirt in a very pleasing manner. Shaggy red hair framed his chiseled face, and a day's worth of appealing stubble adorned his jawline. He had eyes the blue of the ocean. The smile he gave her made her knees go weak, or would have had she been standing. How are you feeling? He asked in a soft voice, stepping toward the bed. Terrible. Oh, good. He let out a chuckle. I thought you might be ready to go ice skating or something, but I'm not exactly up for it. He pointed at the slung shoulder with the phone still in his other hand. Is that from, me? She asked. He shrugged. Just what happens in the line of duty. Their eyes lingered on each other until he coughed, cleared his throat, and took a step forward, offering his uninjured hand. I'm Agent Bigfoot. Agent Black Turtle and I are usually partners. Agent Smith, she said, wondering if the name was for his big feet, or the fact that he looked like he could grow a 5 o'clock shadow in about 10 minutes. Trying not to grimace, she held out her hand. Everything hurt, and the muscles in her back felt like they'd been tied into a knot. Smith? He asked, raising an eyebrow and mercifully not commenting on her trembling hand. So they told me. His smile turned into a mischievous grin. The last wave of newbies got Feldernheisen. Consider yourself lucky. The chuckle that rose from her lungs poured out, but with it came a great deal of pain. Oh, she said, hugging herself. Ouch. Agent Bigfoot was about to say something, but the door flew open, and Agent Bunnynose stormed in. What did you do to her? Agent Bunnynose gave Agent Bigfoot a glare. Nothing, he managed a sheepish look. Whatever, Agent Bunnynose said. She let her glare linger for a moment before she turned to Agent Smith. How you feeling? Terrible. Nice, Bunnynose said, nodding. Is that better or worse than a step away from death? This must be an inside joke, Agent Smith decided, because Agent Bunnynose gave Agent Bigfoot a conspiratorial wink. He laughed. A flutter stirred in her stomach. Are the two of you on bed rest? Agent Bunnynose glanced back and forth between them. Yup, Agent Bigfoot said. She just woke up. Well, just to warn you, Mud is in a mood and she's on her way. Bunnynose pulled a candle and a brandy glass from her jacket pocket. And Amphibian Queen told me to bring this down. She lit it with a lighter and set it on the table next to the door. We haven't tried this scent yet. Agent Bigfoot's good looks cracked as his face fell. You're not supposed to have open flames in here. And why is Mud coming after us? The others are on their way to see her. She dropped by our office. Bunnynose leaned on the bed and folded her arms across her stomach. We're still trying to deal with all of those confessions that keep coming, and Amphibian Queen is filling her in. What's up with that anyway? Agent Smith asked. There was something gnawing at the back of her mind about this whole thing, and she couldn't make the pieces of the puzzle fit together. Something she saw somewhere, but the blow to the head, more like the blow to her whole body, was making it hard to think. We're not sure, Bunnynose said. The priest started it, but the others have told us all sorts of nasty tidbits about the neighborhood. Weren't you talking to a nun earlier? Agent Smith asked. Yeah, Bunnynose scratched her chin. Yeah, she's a bundle of fun. She makes Mud feel like a teddy bear. She was adamant that there was nothing even remotely close to a drug experiment going on in the basement. Agent Bigfoot frowned. Have you been over there? Not yet. We're headed there right after Amphibian Queen gets finished with Mud. She smacked Bigfoot on his good shoulder. Text Black Turtle and get them back down here. Right, he said, poking at his phone. Bunnynose turned back to Agent Smith. What happened? Agent Smith commanded her mind to work, and, after a moment, started to tell the story. When she got to the end, she looked at Bigfoot. How is it that you two ended up there to help us? Did Milkshakes call you? Agent Bigfoot nodded. She called, but we were already following the Greenlanders. Had been for a couple of days. And were they after whatever interrogation thing Sci-Fi was working on? She asked, remembering their interest in the sleeve. We're not sure. Agent Bunnynose's phone went off, emitting a flurry of jazz music. She pulled it out of her pocket and frowned. Looks like Mud is almost here. I'd better get going before she catches me. Good luck, you two, she pointed at Agent Bigfoot. Don't let Mud bully you. He grunted. Bully you? Agent Smith asked after Agent Bunnynose was gone. The others can be a bit, insubordinate. They think Supervisor Mud bullies me into telling her what's going on. Does she? He only shrugged before the door opened and Supervisor Mud stepped into the room. Her tall, lean figure towered over Agent Smith lying in the bed, and even though Bigfoot had at least 8 inches on her, Mud's walk and stance gave the illusion that she was the taller one. Agent Smith, how are you feeling? The clipped-off words matched the cold look in the supervisor's hazel eyes. Fine, nothing broken. At least nothing she knew about. Good. Mud turned to Agent Bigfoot. And you? He smiled. It looked forced. Fine, Supervisor Mud. Just a slight dislocation. Nothing to worry about. And you're still in the sling? Mud raised an eyebrow. Doctor's orders. He kept the smile going. Apparently the smile didn't affect Supervisor Mud. Your partners have slipped away before reporting. They were headed toward your office. He waved his good hand around. They dropped by the lab to get the results of the fabric that Agent Smith found. Supervisor Mud opened her lips to speak, and then stopped mid-hinge. She closed her mouth and inhaled. What is that smell? Agent Bigfoot looked away. When Mud turned a furious gaze on Agent Smith, all she could do was shrug. I don't smell anything. Bunnynose was here. It wasn't a question. Neither agent answered. Those infernal candles they've got in their office, they're driving me crazy. Mud threw a hand in the air. We have filters for a reason, and no smoking for a reason, and contracts that people sign saying they will keep their offices clean and clear of excessive debris, air fresheners, and noise. The woman's voice got louder with each sentence. Is it really necessary to fill the air with those potent smells? No, Supervisor Mud, Agent Bigfoot said, shaking his head back and forth like a dog, causing his shaggy hair to flip around. Not at all. The supervisor looked like she wanted to go on, but Agents Milkshakes and Black Turtle burst through the door. Agent Milkshakes took on a very professional manner the second she saw the expression on Mud's face. Mud, we were just looking for you. We discovered some very interesting information on our... Mud cut Milkshake's off with the slash of her hand. She glared back and forth between Milkshake's and Agent Smith. I want you to tell me everything you've learned about Sci-Fi, and I want you to do it fast and succinctly. I don't have all day to stand here listening to your usual BS. If I'm not satisfied with your report, this might be your last day here. Gulping, Agent Smith looked to Milkshakes, who took a breath and composed her face into a mask of efficiency. They told Supervisor Mud everything, from the empty lab to the scented candle business, which pulled the woman's lips into a deep frown, to Rob Harker and his hosting the awards ceremony, to the girlfriend, the freeway, the fence, the gas station restroom, the Turks, the Greenlanders, the attack, and all the points in between. By the time they finished, Agent Smith was sure that she would never work in law enforcement again. Mud's expression morphed into one of pure fury. That explosion incident was you? She pointed a shaking finger at Milkshakes. Milkshakes held up a hand. We were there, but we didn't set it off. You blew one of his top agents' 6-month-long cover. She shook her head. Not that I believe a word of it. Sounds more like Cypher blew his own cover trying to make sure he didn't get himself killed. But, Mud snapped her fingers, the two of you should have called in. We have protocols, although no one around here seems to follow them. Agent Smith noticed the others exchanging confused and worried glances. Mud's eyes rested on a spot above Agent Smith's head. Her tirade lost its wind, but she kept talking. And I can't believe those blasted Turks are here again. We made a deal last year. What are they thinking breaking it? I'm going to have to call the vice president. She glanced at her watch. And he's always at the spa on Fridays at this time. Agent Smith didn't dare breathe. She'd never imagined Mud would get so animated. The supervisor blinked and looked around. What are you all standing here for? Follow up on Sci-Fi and get me some answers. Voice rising, she threw her hands in the air. Now! Agents Milkshakes and Black Turtle scurried backward, heading for the door. Agent Bigfoot moved to join them, but Mud shot her hand out like a blockade. Oh no! She glared, turning her gaze from Bigfoot to Agent Smith and back again. The two of you will be staying here. If I so much as see one of you out of this corridor, I will personally make sure you end up on duty in the middle of nowhere. Yes, ma'am, Agent Bigfoot said, gulping. Agent Smith nodded. By the time Mud turned to leave, the other two agents were long gone. She loomed over the brandy glass and let out a great puff of air, extinguishing the flame before she stormed out. And get rid of these blasted candles.